So if you've ever been to a self-development seminar or you've ever read a self-help book, you probably would have heard of the phrase or the statement, what you focus on is what you get. Now, the statement is quite simple, yet it's actually quite complex when you actually look at the biology and psychology behind it. So the example that I'm going to use is, let's say that your car's starting to break down and it's starting to be really unreliable. So you decide you're going to go look at buying a new car. And let's just say that car you want to look at is a Toyota Camry. So you decide to go to the dealership on the weekend, you have a look, you have a test drive, and you look around and you decide you just want a couple of weeks to think about it to see if this is the best decision for you. And over the next couple of weeks, on your way to work, in the car park, in the shopping centers, at the gym, everywhere, you just start to notice Toyota Camrys everywhere. And you start to think, has everyone just gone out on the same weekend that I have and bought a new Toyota Camry? So the thing is, that's not the case. Those cars, those Camrys have always been out on the road, has always been in the shopping centers, at the gym, in these places. But what's actually happening is researchers say that we are, external to us, there's 400 million bits of information coming in through our 5 senses every 1 second. 400 million bits of information. And our brain is only capable of processing 2,000 bits of information. So what that means is we're filtering out a hell of a lot of information, millions, hundreds of millions of bits of information every 1 second. So ultimately, the reason I use the car metaphor, the Camry metaphor, is the Camrys were always there, but because your brain didn't deem it important, it never filtered in that particular information. Now, if you've bought a pair of shoes, you'd notice the same thing. You buy a pair of shoes and you start to notice that these particular shoes are absolutely everywhere. You buy a fridge and you notice when you go to different people's houses, they have the same fridge. These people have always had these things, but you've never noticed it before because you didn't deem it important. So what's happening behind the scenes on a biological level is our reticular activating system is filtering in and out information based on what we perceive to be important. Number one is survival, what's going to keep us alive, and depending on our perception can cause a multitude of different effects. But basically, when you decided that you needed a new car, because at the end of the day, your car is your freedom. It helps you get to work, it helps you go to, the gym, it helps you go socialize, all these things. So your brain identifies a car very important. So when you went to test drive a Toyota Camry, your brain went, oh, that is very important. I'm going to start to notice these things everywhere because it's important to my human being, okay? So the reason I want you guys to understand this statement, what you focus on is what you get, on a deeper level, is how it can apply to you right now during this particular challenging time. Because for many of us, for the large majority of us, we're isolated at home. And I know that a lot of people are struggling with that, particularly extroverts that are really struggling with this social distancing and isolation. So ultimately, we don't have control of the things external to us, okay? We can't control what happens with the virus. We can only influence a little bit. We can't control what the government decides to do. We can't control anyone or anything outside of ourselves, okay? The only thing we're truly in control of is ourselves. So what that means is we have an opportunity to start to really take advantage of the time that we have today. Now, I know a lot of people are doing it tough. I know a lot of people are experiencing a lot of challenges due to maybe being let go of at work. Maybe bills are still coming in and there's not enough money to pay them. So all of those things are the reality, and I'm not saying that that's phenomenal. I'm not saying that's easy. What I'm saying is there's still things that we can be doing to take control and to empower our lives in some way. So first thing we need to really take a look at and explore is what's important to me. Am I happy? Up until coronavirus, was I happy and fulfilled with what I was actually doing with my life, how I was spending my time, where I was placing my energy and my resources? If the answer is no, that means you now have the ability to find out what it is that you can do differently now and when things start to go back to the new normal. And if you were reasonably happy, but it was sort of like an averageness, you can start to think, how can I upskill? How can I add more value? How can I perform at even a higher level? And once you figure out what's important to you and how you want to proceed with your life, you can start to create some goals. Now, researchers say, I don't know what the figure is now, but the last time I heard it, when people write down handwritten goals, they're 40% more likely to actually achieve the goal. Now, there's many reasons behind that, and it has to do with the amount of neural connections and everything we have to use when we handwrite something rather than type it out. But the thing is, you need to figure out what's important. You need to figure out how it's actually aligned with your values. So your values are things that is truly important to you on a deep internal level. And there's resources that you can do to elicit your values. So if you want to know more about that, hit me up in a message or something like that. So you need to find out what's important, what's a goal that's aligned with my values, and what are some things that I personally am in control of to start working toward those particular goals. And now the part comes in where you can really start to program, in a sense, your reticular activating system to help you achieve this goal. So just like when you had a look at the Camry, your brain started to show you and filter in information of all the other Camrys out there. When you start to figure out what's important to you, you start to write them down, you look at it every morning, you think about it, you focus on it, you talk about it, your brain will start to show you more information, more resources, more insights, more wisdom, more opportunities that have always been there. Just like the Camrys were always there, these opportunities and things have always been here, but because you didn't deem it important, it never showed you those particular opportunities. So figure out what's important to you, write down a few goals that is manageable, that is achievable, and that is important to you, and start to focus your energy on those things, because that's what you're going to get. So I trust this video has been helpful. And if you want to start to figure out what your values are on that deep intrinsic level, please send me an email or a message, and I'll be happy to send you to the website where that you can elicit that information.